Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're stepping into some pretty unusual territory, even for us. We've got this big stack of source material, all from investigatory sessions.
Right? Transcripts from deep hypnosis, metaphysical research, stuff like that. And it's all focused on animals, their intelligence, life cycles, how they're organized, but from a really esoteric angle.
Exactly. And these sources, they make some extraordinary claims. Things about, individual animal consciousness, karma, even external forces messing with them for ages.
So our mission here is pretty clear. We're treating these session findings almost like raw data. We need to unpack what they claim is happening metaphysically in the animal world.
And crucially, how their whole situation seems to be tangled up with ours.
Yeah, that connection is key.
We have to be upfront here, though. We're looking at these claims impartially. We're not saying we buy the method, but we need to explore the data points as presented, just to understand the system they're describing.
It's tricky, especially since, well, the sources themselves actually warn about this kind of information being potentially flawed.
All right, it's a bit of a paradox. Okay, let's unpack this.
So where do we start? The basics.
Let's start with the basics, yeah. The architecture of animal consciousness. According to these transcripts, animals aren't just biological machines reacting to stuff. They have their own consciousness.
And it's linked to something they call a metal body.
A metal body? What does that even mean? It sounds weird.
It does sound weird. The term suggests something denser, maybe more structured energetically than we might think. The main idea is that this body lets their consciousness travel.
Travel, like leave the physical body.
Exactly. Sort of manipulate its form outside the physical shell. It's like their version of an OBE, an out-of-body experience.
Okay, so if the consciousness is off traveling somewhere, what's the physical body doing? Just sleeping.
Well, the sessions are pretty consistent here. The physical body stays behind, and it's described as guarding the area.
Guarding, but a little security guard.
Sort of, yeah. The consciousness is off doing whatever energetic task it's doing, and the body holds the fort, and importantly, the traveling consciousness. It keeps its animal shape. It's still animalistic.
Huh. It doesn't just become a blob of energy or something.
No, it stays animal-shaped.
Wow. It makes you look at your cat having a nap completely differently, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is he really just napping, or is the physical form just the anchor while his consciousness is doing laps around the block?
That's the implication, yeah. It totally reframes what rest might mean for them. But okay, that's the individual level. What about the collective? Is there like a big animal group mind?
The sources definitely say yes. There's a massive collective consciousness created by all animals on Earth. But the surprising part for me was, it's all one big pool.
Right. That's a key detail. No separate consciousness for dogs or cats or birds. Just one huge collective entity for all Earth animals.
Which kind of goes against the idea that different species would have their own separate spiritual groups.
It really does. It suggests the collective operates on a different principle than biological classification. But if it's one big group, is there a leader, like an ancient, wise animal spirit running the show?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no. The sources paint a picture of total chaos.
Chaos? How so?
They use this word kotoanina. It translates roughly as a cauldron, like a boiling, disorganized mess.
A cauldron. Wow. So information gets shared mentally, instantly, but there's no order.
Exactly. It's all operating on the same level. No leader, no hierarchy, no guiding intelligence for the whole thing. Just energetic noise.
An energetic free-for-all. Okay, so it's not like some wise, unified animal spirit sending out messages. It's too messy for that.
That's what it sounds like. More instinct and raw data flying around than complex thought. Which leads to the next point. How does this animal consciousness compare to human consciousness?
The sources say it's similar, but at a lower level, especially when it comes to things like reasoning, abstract thinking, adaptation.
Lower level, okay. But they draw a really firm line, don't they?
A very firm line. According to these sessions, animal consciousness does not evolve into human consciousness, ever.
Why not?
The claim is that the physical structure, the animal brain, the animal body, it's just not capable of holding what they call a greater consciousness, the kind humans supposedly have. The limitation is built into the hardware, essentially.
So it's a physical barrier, metaphysically speaking.
Seems so. And it works both ways.
You mean a human consciousness can't drop down to the animal level, even if someone is severely impaired or ill?
Correct. The sources are explicit. That's not feasible or impossible.
Okay. So two distinct systems. They interact, clearly,
Right.
but they don't merge or transform into one another.
Right. Different blueprints for consciousness on the same planet.
All right, if that's how their minds are structured, let's talk about their lives here. Karma, missions, that human connection seems central. This is part 2, right? Metaphysical contracts.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really focused on us, on humans. The big surprise is that animals do carry karma.
They do, but I thought it was
Most people assume they don't, but the sources say yes, but they get it mainly through humans.
through humans. How? Not just by, like, biting the mailman.
No, not for being animals. A predator hunting prey, that doesn't generate karma for their animal. That's just nature. No guilt, no conscience involved in that.
Okay, so it's not about their natural behavior.
No. The karma comes when they fail a specific mission that's tied to a particular human.
A mission. Like what?
Could be anything, really. Providing comfort, teaching a lesson, maybe just being an energetic support. But the karma happens if the mission fails often because the human wasn't ready.
Wait, so the animal takes on karma because we weren't ready to get the message or the help they were trying to give.
That seems to be the core claim. Our lack of readiness, our spiritual stagnation can apparently burden the animal energetically. They end up carrying the tab for our missed lesson.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It makes the whole human-animal bond seem less like companionship and more like a really complex energetic contract.
With pretty high stakes for the animal's next life, potentially. Which brings us to reincarnation.
Right. How does their cycle work? Is it as complex as the human one is supposed to be?
The sources describe it as simple, much less complicated. And one of the most interesting bits is their freedom of choice.
Freedom.
In choosing their next physical form, apparently there's no strict evolutionary ladder they have to climb.
You mean a mouse could come back as a dog?
Mm.
Or a cat as a horse?
Exactly. The source material says they can choose their next body regardless of the last one. It suggests the choice is driven more by the needs of the next mission than by some biological progression.
Okay, that's flexible. But what about this idea of them coming back to the same person?
Yes. That's probably the most emotionally charged finding. If a mission with a specific human is incomplete,
Yeah.
the animal can reincarnate and return to that exact same human.
Do the same lifetime.
Yes. In a different body, maybe a different species altogether, but back to the same person to finish the job.
Whoa. So that rescue dog you just adopted might actually be the cat you lost last year, back to finish teaching you patience or something.
According to these sources, yes. It makes you think about those immediate, intense bonds people sometimes feel with a new pet. Maybe it's not entirely new.
It adds a whole other layer, a really intense layer. Suggests these connections, these contracts are incredibly persistent.
Tenacious is a good word for it, but there's a limit to this whole system.
A boundary.
Yeah. The sources state the entire cycle of animal reincarnation is contained only on the Earth plane. It doesn't extend beyond Earth into other dimensions or realities like the human cycle supposedly does.
Okay, that's important. It grounds the whole animal system here. Suggests it's specifically calibrated for Earth, and maybe specifically for interacting with humans on
It
Earth.
seems that way. It's an Earth-based support system in a sense.
Let's shift gears a bit. Special cases, external influences. We hear a lot about animal therapy, dogs, horses, helping people heal. The sources link this to their high vibration. Did they get more specific?
They did, yeah. They compared horses and dogs, for example. Horses were noted for having a very calm, steady energy,
Okay, calming. Makes sense for therapy.
whereas dogs have a more lively, frantic energy, a higher, maybe more stimulating vibration.
So the type of healing depends on what the human needs. Calmness from a horse, maybe energy or motivation from a dog.
That's the implication. Match the animal's vibration to the person's deficit.
Makes intuitive sense.
Yeah.
Now, cats. They always come up in these kinds of discussions. Astral travel, watching us.
Cats definitely get special mention. Domestic cats, specifically, they're highlighted for their ability to consciously leave their physical bodies, like a voluntary OBE. Apparently, they're unusually good at it, even compared to big cats.
So they are skilled, energetic travelers. Does that mean they're being used by, I don't know, aliens or something, as little furry surveillance drones?
Walking cameras, the sessions actually shoot that down pretty firmly.
Not really.
Yeah. While cats might help regulate energy in a space, they're apparently not being used for external spying or control. And that applies to animals generally.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why are animals hard to control for these external entities?
Two main reasons given. Either the animal's energy is too high vibration, too pure to be easily corrupted or overridden,
All right.
or, paradoxically, Their consciousness is too low, too instinctual, too simple to be worth the effort for these entities. It's easier to manipulate a complex human mind.
So animals are either too clean or too simple. Interesting defense mechanism. But there was one exception mentioned. Something dark.
Yes, rabies.
Rabies, the disease.
The sources identify rabies wichiclesna is the term used not just as a virus, but as an ancient, energetically implanted mechanism.
Implanted? By who? External forces?
That's the claim. Used by external forces dating back potentially thousands of years, maybe even Stone Age.
And why? What's the purpose of this energetic weapon?
To make infected animals interact negatively with humans. To attack, spread fear, spread disease. The idea is that rabies was engineered to sow chaos and conflict between the human and animal world.
To disrupt those missions and connections we were just talking about?
Possibly to corrupt that codependence. It basically reframes one of our oldest diseases as a form of, well, spiritual warfare.
That is deeply unsettling. Okay, so we've covered consciousness, karma, reincarnation, external meddling, a lot of wild claims. But now we hit maybe the most important part. The sources themselves talk about their own limitations.
Yes, the methodology critique.
Right, so what does this all mean?
This is really the critical thinking piece for you, the listener. The source material itself issues a strong warning, information from a single session like this. It's extremely contaminated.
Contaminated, right. By what?
Several things. First, the person under hypnosis, their own beliefs, their culture, their expectations, it all colors the information coming through. That's one layer.
Okay, the human filter. Makes sense.
Second, the transmission itself. The data has to travel across dimensions, densities. It gets distorted, like static on a long-distance call.
Right. Signal degradation.
And third, and this is the really concerning one, active interference. The sources claim that other entities, ones that might want to suppress this information, can actually intercept the data stream and twist it before it even reaches the researcher.
So you've got the subject's bias, dimensional static, and potentially deliberate manipulation by third parties. All messing with the signal.
Exactly. Which is why they stress that taking any single session or even a few as pure gold, as absolute truth, that's a huge mistake.
So how do they claim you can get reliable information this way? Is it even possible?
It requires a really strict and frankly incredibly difficult protocol.
Okay.
You have to ask the exact same questions across hundreds, ideally, thousands of different sessions, different subjects, different researchers, different times, ideally no contact between them.
And then you look for the overlap, the tiny bits that consistently show up everywhere.
That's the method. You discard almost everything and only keep the minimal points of agreement that survive across that huge sample size. Those are the tiny grains of gold.
Wow. So understanding these animal claims isn't just about the weird content. It's about understanding this incredibly complex, almost unbelievably fragile method used to get it.
Precisely. You have to hold both things in your head. The fascinating claims and the massive question marks around how those claims were generated.
But even with all that contamination, was there a final message? Something clear that came through from the animal consciousness itself?
There was. Amidst all the complexity, the request was very simple. It was for humans to respect them more and appreciate them more.
Respect and appreciation. After everything about metal bodies and karma, it comes down to that.
Pretty much, it cuts through the noise.
And it brings us back to that strange loop, doesn't it? Animals get karma through missions with us, often failing because we're not ready. Then they come back, maybe again and again, to the same person.
All because of this deep, necessary codependence that we might not even be aware of. Our spiritual homework becomes their karmic burden.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If that animal reincarnation cycle really is trapped here on Earth, and if their karma is so tightly bound to us and our failures, does that mean this human-animal connection isn't just nice? It's fundamental. An inescapable part of the Earth system, designed so they can help us evolve, whether we realize it or not.
Something to consider next time your pet gives you that knowing look. Maybe they're wondering when you'll finally get the memo they've been trying to deliver for lifetimes.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.